So much for joining us for Dragonblade Authors Unplugged this week. I have to tell you, I had a really hard time starting it because these ladies are so much fun to talk to. This should be a great chat. This week we have with us Alexa Ashton, who has the third book out in her Duke's Done Wrong series, and Chasity Bowlin has a new box set that came out this month as well. And then we also have two other authors to talk about who are in a time zone in an entirely different part of the world, which makes this the middle of the night for them. Avery Maitland had a book that came out this week, and Aubrey Wine's book came out today. So we have lots and lots to talk about today. But let's go ahead and start with Alexa, your book, the third book in the Duke's Done Wrong series.
Yes. This is about my Turner Terrors. These are 5 boys that were sent to Turner Academy, and they're accused of doing something that naturally none of them did. And of course, that unfolds in the course of all of the books. But this time we meet Donovan, who is very much the ladies' man, and he's coming home from the Army. His dad and brother have been killed in a carriage accident. And he's used to getting his way. He's an officer, so he's used to bossing people around, and everybody does what he does when he snaps his fingers. And like I said,
like it if it went that way.
And then Winter, who is his next door neighbor, who never knew he existed, and she's not the marrying kind. She just has pretty much said up front, that's not my thing. And she was a very good friend. She was best friends with his brother. And so the fact that she didn't even know he existed, she starts questioning a lot of things, her relationship with the brother, that friendship, and then just questioning her idea of should I get married or not, because she is very much attracted to this guy.
Cool. And that's the third book. That's the third book in the series, right? So we
get the third book. Yes. Disrupting the Duke. So I went with alliteration with everything, and sometimes it's hard for me to remember which title was which. Discouraging the Duke is number 1. Deflecting the Duke is 2, and now we're on Disrupting the Duke. That's 3.
Well, great. It's interesting, the idea that she was friends with the brother, and the brother never mentioned the hero. I can imagine that would throw everything into turmoil. All of the things that she thought she knew would not be the things that she actually knew anymore. So
yeah. When she meets him, they're out riding, and it's like, oh, so you're the new Duke, and she just assumes, he's a distant relative, cousin or something, and then he says something about his brother, and boy, that throws her for a loop.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, yeah. And it also takes place at Christmas too. And even though it's not Christmas time now, I'm sure some people out there are already pulling out those Christmas lists and shopping and everything. So it was kind of fun to have something for the Christmas season.
The overachievers amongst us are. The rest of us are lucky if we get it done by the skin of our teeth on time.
Well, I bought something for my son-in-law the other day at Costco, and his birthday is in November. So I told my husband, I don't know if this is birthday or Christmas present. We'll just have to kind of play it by ear.
There you go. So today's release is Aubrey Wynn's book. It's The Bonnie Pretender, and it's Bonnie Bonny, not Bonnie. So when you go to look for it on Amazon, make sure you pop the Y in so that you get to the right place. And I'll put the links for all the books in the pinned chat when we're done. But that's book 3 in the McNaughton Castle series. And I know that she had written a Christmas novella to go with that series too. So I guess we get to do holiday stuff whenever we want to, which is kind of cool. Chastity, your box set, your recent box set is The Lost Lords?
Yes, it is books 1, 2, and 3 of the Lost Lords series. I love that series so much. I can't.
3 books for 99 cents.
This is an amazing deal. It really is.
Ads up for it. It's like, this is such a good deal.
I'm currently, what I'm working on right now is finding ways to expand the Hellion Club series and take it beyond the original 7 books. And so one of the things that I'm considering doing is trying to cross it over with some secondary characters from the Lost Lord series.
Oh,
so
cool.
Of course, I wrote those a few years ago. Just a few. So I had to go back and kind of reread them to refamiliarize myself with all the secondary characters and, the timelines of everything, because there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then. And like, I just fell in love with those books all over again. I was so happy, excited about those characters. So I hope people love them. I will tell you that the Lord Highcliffe, who is such a popular character in the Hellion Club series, he actually makes his debut in the Lost Lord series. He's in it too. And I think some people may not know that there was already a connection between those two series. But yeah, there's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of mystery involved in how these different people have come to be removed from society and missing and then rediscovered and trying to prove their identity and claim what is rightfully theirs. And all of that was actually inspired from a true crime rabbit hole. About the infamous Lord Lucan. I highly recommend that if you are a true crime junkie like myself, that you look that up. It's Lucan. That's a whole rabbit hole. I won't even go into it because it would take forever. So.
Wow. It was interesting. You were talking about revisiting characters. Alexa was talking about we were talking before you joined the chat about what it's like to go back to connect with characters that you've written before and how attached that authors get to the families that they've written and the people that they've written. So I love the idea of you being able to tie your two series together, so we get to see everybody again, and in bits and pieces. I think that's as an author, I understand why you love to do that, but as a reader, I love reading books when I get to revisit the characters over again.
I cut my teeth on the Montgomerys from Jude Deveraux and the Taggarts, and then Joanna Lindsay's Mallory series. That's kind of where I started reading romance. So that was always the dream, was to create this world where all of these people exist together, and you just get to go play in it every now and then or every day.
And it feels as real, often feels as real as the people that you know in real life, or the people you know kind of tertiarily in real life. So
if I didn't write books, I would need medication. That's pretty much.
It's the only in your head. You talk to you in your head, and you can be like, "Yeah, it's just work,"
So,
Alexa, you had 2 box sets come out recently too. One just this week.
Yes, I was really excited that the trilogy, The King's Cousin, was packaged together. It's the story of 3 children, and their father supposedly committed treason. And each prologue from the 3 books starts off with the night that the king's men come to his estate and take their father away. And so you kind of see it from each of the 3 young children's point of view. And then they're not reunited again until they're adults. The girl in the pawn, the king, her cousin, uses her as a political pawn and has her marry someone to kind of straighten things out. The second one, the heir, Landon no longer is an heir because the crown, took the father's lands back. And so he's become a great knight, and he's really trying to prove himself on the battlefield and show his loyalty to king and crown. And then the last one, the bastard, is the oldest of the 3 children. And I really enjoyed it probably the most because I'm a huge fan of the old Heath Ledger movie, A Knight's Tale. And Quill has become a knight, and I set it at a tournament that's happening in London. So I get to have all of the different tournament action and all the big banquets and going on. Of course, they don't do the little David Bowie dance in my book, but it was fun. So I'm really excited that those 3 are packaged together. It's the full length novel for each, and they're also 99 cents.
I know the box sets are such a great deal, and we have 4 of them out now. More of them coming out in the next couple of weeks. I'll make sure that I put the links in the pinned post in the Dragonblade on the Dragonblade publishing page. So if you haven't picked it up, they are all very good deals. I love the covers for for the King's Cousins.
There's some of my favorite that Dora Albert has
Gorgeous.
done.
I mean, they're just.
And then my other box set
covers.
comes from my 10-book series, Knights of Honor, and it's the first 3 books of those as well. So like I said, if you love medieval, those are both box sets out now. And hey, for 99 cents, you can't go wrong. You can't even get a cup of coffee for that. So
you can't even get cheap, like truck stop kind of coffee for that.
Some places you can't even get ice. Like you literally, you go in to get a glass of ice, and it's more than
Right.
that. So.
Yeah.
So we had one other release this week. It was Avery Maitland's book, and Avery was sweet enough to send a synopsis for us. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of what she sent us, so that you can see. Give me just a second to pop up my screen. There we go. Okay, so she said that her book is Lessons in Spectacle, and it is in the Her Majesty's Matchmaker series, and it's the one of the cool things about it is that it takes place in Queen Charlotte's court, which everybody is crazy about because of Bridgerton now. So it's the matchmaker in the Queen's court, and she talks about how it's narrated through the eyes of the accidental matchmaker in Queen Charlotte's court. And so the twin sister of the newly titled Earl of Blackwood is trying to work her way into the Queen's good graces by entertaining the monarch with her skills of observation and obviously matchmaking. And she goes to match a pair of people from families who are not who are feuding, and so there are shenanigans that ensue and scandal and all kinds of other things. But that's another one where the covers are so beautiful, and I love the setups for those where she talks. She writes the taglines as if it's somebody writing, as if it's the matchmaker writing in her diary. To so it's that I will tell only you my secrets, and it's like I want to know all the secrets. Then if you're going to tell your diary the secrets, I want them too. So but that one came out this week too. So
That sounds. I may have to actually get that one and read it. I don't need to read it. I need to write my own book, but sometimes you have to read it all.
But I think reading is the reason that lots of people become authors in the first place, and also something that I think that authors have a continuing, ongoing passion for. It's like Chastity, you were talking earlier about the authors that you started reading that helped you fall in love with the genre. Would you ladies talk a little bit more about what it is that you read now, what it is that led you to where you are now, and the things that are currently on your TBR piles?
Do you want to start, Alexa?
Doesn't matter. Go ahead.
So I love to read Regency, but I have to be very careful, since that's what I write, that I don't want to overly influence my own writing with someone else's. So I tend to go way out of genre. And I should probably have some shame in admitting this, but I don't. But it's all like, Ruby Dixon, Ice Planet Barbarian.
Oh, alien. You're the blue love story ladies.
But I do. I love paranormal romance. I love. I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. Anything that will make me laugh. But I do struggle, and I don't know if Alexa has this issue or not too, but whenever I sit down to read a book, I feel a little bit guilty because I feel like I should be working on my own stuff because I know people are waiting for it. And but you have to have balance in your life. You have to give yourself permission to do the things that you enjoy outside of just writing, which I do enjoy it, but it is also my job, but it can't be 24/7. So you have to take breaks, and you have to give your brain some candy every now and then.
I think that candy and refilling the well is really important. That you can't always keep putting out if you don't take in and give your brain a chance to play too. You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, we love stories because we love stories, and so if you don't give yourself some stories to play with, I think it's much harder to create.
Yeah, I do read some romance, but I'm like you, Chastity. I don't want to be influenced, or I don't want people to accuse me of, oh, you sound exactly like so and so, kind of thing. So, Regency. I mean, I read Mira Platt, obviously, and then Tessa Dare, Sarah McLean, people like that. But a lot of times, I read outside the romance genre just to kind of get away from it and clear my head. I love reading thrillers. Daniel Silva's newest. Read that, The Cellist. That's wonderful. I read like Steve Barry and Brad Meltzer, people like that. And then I like historical fiction, things like Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale, that kind of thing. And every now and then I'll go back to the romance well and I'll read a romance author. But a lot of my reading is outside. It's either just other fiction or biographies. I love biographies. And I do like a good binge. I mean, I love my Ted Lasso. I'm going to be starting Goliath.
You post about TV series lots of times about things that you're watching. I like to see what it is that you're watching.
Well, I taught for so many years, and my idea when I started out was I was going to teach by day, write by night. Okay, that's just the biggest disaster. It doesn't happen.
It's like trying to work with a baby, right?
Well, see, that's it. I mean, you're putting in 70, 80 hours, you have your family, and it'd be like, I'd come home and I'd play with my daughter, put her to bed, and then I'd grade papers till midnight, and that was like for 30 years. And so I didn't watch a lot of TV. So now that I'm not teaching and I'm writing and I'm the boss of myself, I can decide when I want to write. And I probably spend 6 to 8 hours a day on writing, whether it's writing or plotting or research, but I chunk all of that. I do a couple of hours in the morning, I take a break, I do lunch, 3 hours in the afternoon, take another break. And, I keep coming back and forth to it. And so binge watching is kind of my guilty pleasure now. And I like it.
I did what Alexa did for a really long time. I worked in like social work and mental health, and
it consumes you.
Well, and I trained myself to just come home, and I didn't watch TV. I gave up TV for 5 years while I was getting my publishing career off the ground, because it's like something has to go. And that was the thing out of all the stuff I was doing that I was the least passionate about. Mm-hmm. So I gave up TV for a really long time. And that's how people are like, well, how do you there just aren't enough hours in the day. And I'm like, well, there are a limited number of hours in the day, but you have to choose what you want to allocate those hours to. You have to make that choice. And
prioritize.
You have to make sacrifices to be a published author. There's no getting around it, because I'm sorry, my cat's coming to visit.
Oh, good.
But I mean, people ask all the time how you get it done. And I'm like, you have to decide what you want the most.
Yeah.
So
I heard Nora Roberts speak a couple of years ago at an RWA, and she was like, you put your butt in the chair. You can't wait for some magic muse to come sprinkle fairy dust on you. You have to sit and do the work. And I think that there's a balance of both that sitting and doing the work, and then the magic that happens after the draft's done.
There's a lot of discipline.
Go back and find your story, and
you have to be. Yeah, I was at that same Nora Roberts talk.
Were you?
And my critique partner and I, we just abbreviate it BIC, but in chair.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll even tell my husband, I've got to go BIC. Kind of thing. And, whether that's plotting or researching or tweaking or editing or the actual writing itself, it's, I was pretty self-disciplined as a teacher. And I think that's why I'm able to put out as much as I am now as a full-time writer.
You're very prolific right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had 2 different 5-book series this year, Digs of Distinction, and we're in the middle of Digs Done Wrong. And I also have a Halloween and a Christmas novella coming out as well.
And you're killing it on the charts, which is really fun to see.
It's been exciting. It really has. I mean, I'm almost 40 books into it. And so it's kind of like, ooh, overnight success. Well, yeah, after 40 books. Yeah. I'm number 1 in Regency this morning. Woo.
Oh, yay. It was yesterday, wasn't it? That's fantastic. That's
Thanks.
fantastic. It's lovely when hard work is rewarded and you can see it in real time, because it's obvious that you've put attention to your craft. So
Well, to me, I was that reader first, like Chastity, before I was ever the writer. And it's delightful to know there are people out there reading my stuff, reading my characters, and they're getting as much pleasure as I did from all the people I read for all of those many years. It's like I'm making people happy. They've had a bad day. They come home and they open Disrupting the Duke last night. I already had a couple of readers, message me saying, I finished it in one day. And to me, that's the biggest compliment ever, that they lost sleep, that, they read a book in one day. It's like, they're really
the
digging
laundry
this.
is not done. The children are unattended.
Yeah.
Well, the other side of that is that writing is a very intimate process for the author. I mean, like, you are literally bearing bits and parts of your soul, and all of this is created within your own mind, and you're giving it to the world. And it makes you very vulnerable. So anytime those things, those little victories or those big victories happen, it's just a kind of validation that because we have given so much of ourselves and we have opened ourselves so much, it's a huge validation.
I agree. I really do. And it's just fun that the people I play with, others are playing with them now.
Well, I think it's so important now too. You both talked about reading outside the romance genre, but I think one of the things that's so important about romance right now is you can count on that happily ever after. I mean, you can have the Blue Alien romances and the Regency romances, and the promise that you get when you go into the book is that there will be a happy resolution at the end. I can give you my time. I can go into this, with my slightly bruised heart and my tired self, and at the end of it, the author is going to take me on a journey that will resolve with a happily ever after at the end. And I think we need that so much right now. I know I need that so much right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants a surprise tearjerker.
No City of Angels.
No. I always go back to My Girl, the movie My Girl. I feel so betrayed.
For me, it was City of Angels, and my middle son always talked about how Nicholas Sparks ended up on the peanut butter list. The peanut butter list was something my sister came up when you were bad, you ended up on the peanut butter list. But Nicholas Sparks always ended up there because you can't count on loving the people that you love in the beginning still being alive at the end. But with a romance, you can count on that. I can let go and let you take me on whatever ride you're going to take me on, and at the end, you're going to bring me to a resolved place where I will feel that happily ever after and that love story. And that's so important right now, I think.
I think it is, especially with these COVID times, that people, they want to thrive. And one way to do it is to live through romance and go through these novels. I know my mom passed away 3 years ago, and my dad has become an avid reader of my books because they give him
so
that happily
cool.
ever after.
Yeah.
And, and it's fun to talk with him and, share with him. And, he misses my mom terribly. They were married over 60 years. And so it's just, it's good for him. It's kind of like food for the soul.
That's like people talk about escape as if it's a bad thing. And it's like, no, sometimes it's exactly what your brain needs. It's exactly what your mind needs. So you can go do the rest of the things you have to do in your life. You need that space to run away and play for a little bit, especially as grown-ups with responsibilities and such. So
romance gets a bad rap. People act like it's completely formulaic, but I mean, how is that any different from any other genre? Because
take James Patterson. There's always somebody that dies and there's a murder to solve. Okay, how formulaic is that?
The good guy always gets the bad guy. I mean, in most books, that's how it works. There's a formula for everything. That doesn't make it bad, and it doesn't mean that it should be dismissed in any way. It's still valid art.
Not only that,
or reads it.
Yeah, there is no more universal desire, I think, for humans than the desire to be seen and to be loved and to love in return. Like, it's like I desire to occasionally read about murders, but I well, I mean, shouldn't say never, but I almost never want to do it. But, like that desire to be loved is something that everybody wants, depending on what flavor or form it takes. But, it's a universal truth. It's a universal desire. It's huge.
Yes.
I mean, there's romance in every story, even the buddy cop films. I mean, let's face it, that's a kind of romance for them. They follow that traditional Harlequin. We hate each other. We love each other. We'd do anything in the world for each other. Maybe it's more of a bromance, but it's still, the relationship building is there, and it's just as important.
And it's the seeing and being seen, the I see you for who you are. Not for who I want you to be, but I see you, and it matters because I see you. It's huge.
And romance gives us hope. I mean, at the bottom of every day, I think you need that hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day for you individually, for the world.
2020 was a really strange year, and 2021 has not been a whole lot better. It's all been really strange.
Understatement.
But and I think that I know this is probably true for Alexa, and I think it's probably true for most of the romance authors out there. People flocked to books that would make them feel good. Nobody needed any more reality in their life. We were all done with reality at that point. Yeah. So, there is a place in this world for things that are comforting and that feel good and that just make you happy. And people should not be made to feel ashamed for reading a particular genre just because somebody else doesn't see the value in it.
Yeah, it always tickled me when people would get arrogant about it. It's like it is the largest genre, and it's that way for a reason. It's that way because it's something we all want. Even those of us who are not talking about it openly all the time, it's something we all want. I think you're right about last year in particular, and people needing both the hope that Alexa talked about, and also that kind of comfort and that the security in knowing that you're not going to throw me at the end. It's like I can trust myself to go along with you on this story, and you're not going to throw me at the end. It's gonna end up where I want it to.
Yeah.
When there's that much
in the middle, throw you all the way through. So you see the dark moment, but yes, in the end, there's the payoff.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I mean, well, like I said, it's all about the uncertainty level in our lives every day. There's something that you need guaranteed for you. The fact that you're going to get a happy ending in certain genres, that's a guarantee that you want and that we need right now.
Yeah. So the two of you are also talking about going to concerts and going to see live music, and so I think that's one of the really cool things about tentatively reopening and getting to do some of the things that we haven't been able to do for a year. Is that something that you do to refill your creative well, to connect with that part of yourself?
I don't know that I do it to refill the creative well, because I mean, I'm going to see a country band, so they're not as far removed.
Are you going to be right as possible? Will there be singing along?
There will be lots of singing along. It won't be good singing, but it will be singing.
Enthusiasm is what matters in this situation.
But I think it's easier to be creative when you feel like things are not, I don't want to say normal, because I feel like that's kind of a cheat word. But when
there's optimism there.
Yes. When you can be optimistic, and when you don't have that weight of everything pressing in on you, and you get to go back to living the life that you had become accustomed to, then that creates an ease and a comfort that allows you to free your mind and be more creative.
That makes sense. And I think there's something about that idea of stability that if things are stable for you, then you can do that traveling on the uncertain journey of where the story is going to take you and where the characters are going to take you, and open yourself up to that in a way that it's much harder to do when things aren't stable.
Yeah, writing is an emotional process. I mean, you go through what your characters go through to some degree. And when your life is a roller coaster, it's really hard to dive into that fictional roller coaster and be willing to go there. So you find yourself skating over the surface and writing more shallowly because you just don't have it to give.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Ladies, we are out of time. It was so nice to talk to you today. I really appreciate it. And Chastity, I appreciate you filling in.
Yes.
I'll pop the links for all of the books in the pinned post on the Dragonblade publishing page, because we've got tons this week. We have 3 releases. We've got Avery's release and Aubrey's release and Alexa's release. And then we also have the box sets that are out. Chastity's box set, Alexa has 2, and Mary Lancaster has one out too. And they're like, the box sets are just such fantastic deals. It's less than $1 for 3 or 4 full-length novels. Novels you're going to love, novels that you're going to be able to escape into and take with you this weekend. So I'll put the links where they're easy to find. And thank you, ladies, so much for joining us this week. Next week is a big week. Next week we've got 4 big releases, and we're doing a Lunch on Us giveaway. So I posted that in the group earlier. I'll post it in the group again. We'll make sure we bump it a couple of times this week so that you have a chance to enter into that. And then be sure to join us next week. We'll do the drawing in the morning and announce the winner live during the chat on Friday. So,
Great.
All right. Thanks so much, ladies. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. And everybody, will see you back here next week.
Okay.
Thanks
For having us. Bye.